Salam everyone, I'm Zurairi A.R, Assistant Foreign Editor at the Straits Times. Welcome back to Asian Insider, where we go across the causeway and explore Malaysia's current affairs and trends every fourth Friday of every other month. So joining us from KL today are two guests, our Malaysia Bureau Chief, of course, as always, Shannon Teoh, and our special guest, Latheefa Koya, lawyer, human rights activist, Executive Director of Lawyers for Liberty, and also Jeng, a former Chief Commissioner of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC. So, Shannon, Kalat, welcome. How are you guys holding up with the world is on fire right now?
Well, I think on my side, I've actually been away from KL for a fair bit on reporting trips, personal holiday. So I don't know how things actually are. I have to go and look out my window after this recording session. But I think there's been quite a fair amount of noise about fuel prices and subsidies and things like that. But I think it's something that the Malaysia Bureau has been covering. And we'll probably see a lot more coverage because this thing doesn't look like it's coming to an end.
Okay, Latheefa, most of our listeners maybe will know your name from your stint in MACC, but I've always known you as the person behind Lawyers for Liberty. So for those who are not familiar, maybe like briefly tell us what is LFL and what's been keeping you busy lately in LFL?
Oh, okay. Lawyers for Liberty, I think we formalized ourselves sometime in 2011. We're a group of lawyers, like-minded lawyers, who's been fighting for various issues, public interest matters, including stateless issues, civil and political rights, death penalty, many issues I think you would have come across. And we either take up matters in court to challenge, or we make noise, and I think we do that a lot. At some point, I think we were affiliated, or we were accused, or there's claims that we are supposed to be affiliated with PKR. And if I look at the Wikipedia, which was not posted by us, they mentioned us as a PKR affiliated NGO, which is not true. And I think
not true. Not true.
I want to take the opportunity to actually, it has never been, and we've never been funded. But it just so happened some of the founders, including myself, were PKR leaders at that time. But that's about the only connection that we have. Other than that, we have remained independent, and we've always been about human rights issues. Yeah.
I think nowadays it's very hard to say that you are PKR affiliated.
Oh, no.
Well, because you don't want to say it, is it?
I don't think anyone wants to say that at all.
Okay, so listeners, in today's episode, we have two stories to bring to you. They have been generating a lot of hate in Malaysia. I promise we will go deeper into the quote-unquote corporate mafia scandal surrounding the MCC. But before that, we are going to look at the spate of fatal drink driving cases that has gripped the country. So Malaysia has seen this string of crashes in recent months, and because of that, public anger has been building. But one case specifically from Klang in Selangor sort of like changed the whole conversation. Like in March, we saw a 20-year-old driver killing a delivery rider, and instead of the usual traffic law, he was charged with murder instead. So what this means is that it raises the stakes sharply. Like a murder, you can get like even death penalty or 30 to 40 years in jail even, like compared to just 5 years max under traffic laws. So because of that difference, Malaysians are now arguing about this. So Shannon, the Attorney General, Dusuki Mota, pointed specifically to this like footage of dash cam. So he argued the evidence shows that the driver's actions were, in his words, so imminently dangerous. So maybe you can like walk us a bit through these cases, like what makes it so different? Why does it stand out enough for a murder charge?
Well, okay, personally I disagree with the AG on that it is worth a murder charge. But I'm not a lawyer. Lawyer is the next person in this room. But perhaps what was distinct, I think, in the time, if you look at the facts of how it came to this level of prosecution, it's not so much maybe I think the legal elements, but the evidence that is at hand. Now, the dash cam, if you haven't watched it, it should come with a trigger warning. It's kind of horrific lah. It looks like something out of one of these crazy movies, right? I'm not going to describe it any further, but the listeners, it's very easy to find it online. The problem we have now, though, is that because the dash cam was so gripping in that sense, and on the back of all this anger about drink driving and so on and so forth, now we have this murder charge, and it sets a precedent, right? If you use the AG's words of imminently dangerous actions as enough to justify a murder charge, then there's going to be a lot of murder charges from driving incidences, whether drunk or otherwise. I've seen people who are completely sober drive in imminently dangerous ways as well, right? And subsequently, of course, we had a trailer driver who tested positive for drugs, for meth, and also had to be charged with murder. So, you're going to see this string. People are going to keep asking, oh, how come this one is not murder charge, this is murder charge? And I'm not sure at what, how is the public prosecutor going to justify A and B being murder charges, C and D not being, or are we going to see a string of murder charges? So that's, I think, the territory we are in right now.
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room lah. Like a lot of social media users have pointed out that in this Klang case, the victim was Malay and the accused was ethnic Indian. So because of that, there is like warning lah. I'm like by using these different charges, there may be a perception of selective justice, quote unquote. Yeah. So especially when social media people are making noise about it, right? So of course lah, there is no evidence of racial bias in the charging decision. But
Sure.
Shannon, like this perception problem, right? Do you think that this is serious? Like, do you think the government is doing the right thing by I mean, like, are they addressing it, or are they just going to let this narrative
I
continue?
don't think they're addressing it. I think they're only reacting to it. I think the problem here is that there's the specificity towards just drunk driving, right? Because the basic presumption here is, okay, Muslims don't drink. So it's easy to view just drink driving in a very, in a us versus them, sort of thing, Muslims versus non-Muslims. So it's always a non-Muslim killing a Muslim, murdering a Muslim, as it were. And every time a Malay person dies from this, from an activity that the community will feel this is unnecessary, even unbeneficial, right? Like, why are people drinking, right? So, and they will feel aggrieved, and they want an eye for an eye, and they feel the government is not doing enough and allowing non-Muslims to get away with murder in that sense. But then there's always this other retort coming from non-Muslims, right? So what about drugs, right? So in this case, we're also talking about drugs. And because Malaysians are increasingly living in echo chambers. So maybe Muslim communities don't hear this retort. And then non-Muslims will feel that, the focus on drunk driving is a racist one, right? And with this undertone of drug abuse at least, I think especially the likes of truck drivers, lorry drivers, it's seen as some kind of job hazard because of the long hours behind the wheel. There's this
even
idea that,
express bus drivers, right?
yeah, you need the drugs to stay awake, so on and so forth, right? And then the whole kesian thing lah, these are low income, blue collar motorcyclists. If they are caught using drugs or so and it causes an accident, there is this kind of kesian mentality. They're already so low income, and so on and so forth. Whereas a drink driver is seen always as someone who has money. He went out tonight, he threw down thousands of dollars on expensive liquor or whatever and binge drinking, right?
Yeah.
So there
Very
is
expensive in
also
this,
the kind of classist element to, I think, how this situation is viewed lah, right? So and the trailer driver that we mentioned, he was Malay, but coming back on the uproar over the murder charge for the drunk driver, there was pressure. And you come to this idea of being racially biased or selective justice. There was pressure to also proffer a murder charge against him.
Yeah. And I think that was the point we made in our Straits Time story, right? I mean, like now the uproar is not so much anymore about along racial or religious lines. So, Latheefa, I mean, like we mentioned before, we are obviously not lawyers. So let's bring in the legal and the rights dimension to. I mean, like the punishments under Road Transport Act I mean, some people would say are already harsh, and he had been made harsher, but now we are also seeing like the government thinking about exploring other frameworks. For example, like the diyat mechanism. For those who are not aware, it comes from Islamic legal principles where you give financial compensation to families of the victims, or I guess in some cultures they're called blood money lah. So as a lawyer, Do you think that the murder charge was legally sound, or
It's not.
are the courts actually being swayed by public opinion? Okay, we okay. That's a short answer, but please go ahead.
Okay, the whole thing is absolute nonsense. What came up for the AG to come up with this ridiculous charge of murder when you actually already have reckless driving offenses and reckless driving that cost death, which is another set of offense with higher punishment. So dangerous driving, reckless driving, and dangerous driving that cost death, all three different categories is already there. And driving that dangerous driving that cost death incident is not something surprising. It has happened many, many times. So why is this special this time around? Why is it has caught the news? Is because of the racial reaction and undertone. And why was it racial when we could have had many interracial dangerous driving anyway, which would have probably involved whether it's drugs or drunk driving or intoxication, whatever you say. Why is it so racial? It's because how the social media have shifted from what has been actually, going on probably months on this issue of temple demolition, right? Which is also another highly racially charged debate that was completely not controlled. No action has been taken to those who have gone on their own vigilante like and attacking minority and mainly Indians. And languages that was used like, terrible way or racial slurs like bottle kicap, and things like that has been used. And you've not seen MCMC have taking any action. In fact, no rebuke coming from the administration to stop this. So that was going on for some time. And then finally, they were forced to take so-called some action and started warning about arrest. So it went quiet and then boom, the accident happened.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on the temple issue, which everyone was told to stop, then this accident happened. And so you can see who then reacted. The same actors, the so-called religious, social media guys. I wouldn't even call them religious leaders, but these are the people who now people are seeking to get, what's your reaction about it? Including someone who is completely unknown, not a religious leader, not even an academic, someone like Tamim Dahari is asked what's his view about the accident and what were you expecting. So for the AG then to justify the murder charge by saying that I have to look into public interest. Is it really public interest for you to go and charge someone for murder, which will not, you cannot, in the end, what's going to happen is this, he's going to go scot-free. The driver will go scot-free because you can't hold it. That kind of thing.
You can't prove a murder charge.
So it's so silly to actually put a charge which cannot hold and not charge them with the relevant charges that you have, the offenses. And then he'll go scot-free and there will be another uproar. So unless the court comes up with and finds him, convicts him for something like this, is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, the next person who was charged was the Malay guy in order to do the so-called balancing act. And he is also being charged for murder. Again, what is the idea? The AG actually admitted that he was looking into the public outrage and public uproar, which can never be the reason for an AG to prefer a charge. You have to look at all the elements that has to be met before you actually charge. So that's the problem. That's the problem that we're facing. And a quick point on the diyat thing, which is another ridiculous thing that's happening, is because firstly, non-Muslims cannot be subjected to Sharia. So how in the world are you going to come up with this diyat thing? But diyat makes no sense when you already have a policy and law which is mandatory for anyone to, before you can actually drive, you need to drive in a car which has already been insured for third
Sure, yeah.
party and road tax. So what happens if there's an accident? The third party insurance will take care of whether if it's by death or by injury, it's taken care. That's what you're talking about, whether the person will be compensated. That has already been taken into account because this is a modern offense. Speed is a modern, a thing. So these things would have been looked into, and that is why they came up with this whole insurance policy, which is so. Whoever's talking about diyat, I think it's because it looks interesting and it looks Islamic, but that, frankly, that's actually
It's impracticable,
a topic that shouldn't go anywhere. And that's why I think it probably died as well. That it should die suddenly because
it did die a quick death lah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot for that legal perspective. Okay, we have promised you before, so here we go. Now, to a story that has been simmering for years and finally boiled over this year. The MACC, which is Malaysia's top anti-graft agency, but since early this year, it has instead been at the center of explosive allegation that is, you can say, opposite of its mandate. So it was accused of things that were, for example, using its powers to pressure, manipulate business figures. So for example, the power to freeze bank accounts, right? So people call this so-called culprits inside MACC as quote-unquote the corporate mafia. And the term has stuck. Okay, so Kak Latheefa, you serve you serve in MACC. You were the chief commissioner in 2019, so you know the institution from the inside out. So let's start with the mechanics, yeah, because our listeners may, they may not understand how this works in practice. So of course, Bloomberg's report, they showed a list of like this alleged abuse. For example, MACC allegedly using powers to enable corporate takeovers, manipulate boardrooms, extort businesses. So, if you can help us understand, how can this institution that's supposed to fight corruption, in theory, be weaponized in theory for corrupt purposes? I mean, like, what powers that may enable these sort of things inside MACC?
Yeah, so this goes back to integrity and what has been happening. So for me, it's not just MACC, in fact. So if you look at the whole issue of corporate mafia, it involves other enforcement agencies as well, including the police, including SSM, including customs as well. So what actually happens is this: it's quite a straightforward situation, which if anyone actually investigate, they can uncover the problem. It can be narrowed down. Because I think the Bloomberg story had actually, what it did was it actually exposed many things. And if anyone had a sense of wanting to investigate, they would have set up this special committee or royal committee or whatever to do the investigation, because it goes right to the enforcement agencies. But what we are expecting now is for the very enforcement agencies that, accused of, to do an investigation on their own, which is
to investigate themselves.
Yeah. So that's part of the problem that we're facing. So I would say my short stint, it was a short stint during my time. I've never heard of corporate mafia, but we know that there are definitely attempts of people who would try to weaponize MACC. For example, what people will do is they will lodge reports or police reports or MACC report, and then bring it out there and push for an investigation. Now,
when you say they bring out there, like what, they press
take
conference
that report and use it and basically say that if you don't settle our case, most likely what would happen is there will be fights or rivalries, business fights, shareholding dispute between two business entity, two companies, or within the same company, the minority and the majority are fighting. So there will be a civil suit ongoing. So one of them would then lodge a report to MACC accusing the other. So it is a bit like a marital case where, the husband and wife, if it is acrimonious, they would go to the police and lodge these hundreds and hundreds of police report against each other.
Police reports, yeah, okay.
Similar in that situation. So you have to take those reports with a ladle of salt, okay? So similarly, when it comes to a civil suit between two groups, if they then go and accuse each other of fraud, this and that, if there is a civil suit, usually the police or even MACC would have to look at it and say, there is a civil suit going on. And this may not fall in criminal yet. We have to look at the accusation. It could be wild accusation. So for them to get involved, and then during the questioning, they say, why don't you all settle? That is actually not the place for MACC or police to get involved. Okay, so this is where corporate mafia happens. One side would use their connection, their networking, their links within these enforcement officers to actually, arrest that person, investigate the person, and because we have so much of power, including freezing account, that's where it becomes even more easier to scare.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, it's similar to police. Like, is there like any threshold before like a report
By
being
right,
taken
yes.
seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, by right, there should be a minimum threshold before you can freeze the account. You must show some signs of, money laundering or dirty money or whatever financial, misdoing that could have cost for them to actually freeze the account. But that freezing of the account won't be more than 90 days.
Okay.
So after that, there would be a longer time if there is a proper paper investigation is open. So when you actually freeze the account, that's when people are jammed, especially if you have a company to run, a business to run, paying salary, a lot of things so a lot of people then are forced to actually do some kind of settlement, and that is where the mafia word came from. And this has been happening, and I think it probably increased in the early 20s or just after COVID or whatever. This has been going on. And a lot of us have actually come across these when we are representing clients who are then charged for not even corruption case. They are charged for like the lowest of a cheating case without any evidence. But you'll have to go through the whole process before you can clear.
Yeah.
And usually when they're charged, there's this full-blown, media focus on them, even though they are not politicians, even though they are not. But why? Because it's to shame them and humiliate them. That's why we've been repeatedly talking about this orange shirt is a problem. This orange T-shirt thing, arresting someone for orange T-shirt with orange T-shirt, and bringing them to a full-blown media spectacle is part of this kind of humiliation and embarrassment that is being used over and over again.
But practically, what does that serve? I mean, like, when you try to humiliate the suspects.
Let's put it this way: if I have been arrested and remanded, and I get released, because remand is a closed door process, right? Fine, I've not been charged. That's fine. But if I have been actually publicized wearing that orange T-shirt with the word SPRM, but I've not been charged and I've not been remanded, but the picture is there forever. If I were to actually, and the news with my name will be there. So if I were to go for an interview for a job, they will do their due diligence to check on my background. They will definitely come across my picture.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good for me. If it is about my company, that doesn't look good. Even if nothing has happened, even if we try to explain, the image of being dragged by SPRM is already devastating. So
I can see how that may be beneficial for the corporate mafia, but for authorities, for MACC, for example, right? Like, why would
MACC,
they want to?
it looks good doing their KPI, investigating. They look powerful, right? But frankly, MACC is not just about enforcement. MACC is about prevention of crime, prevention of corruption. And that part has been missed. So I would say that I'm happy to say that during my time, I wanted to focus on recovery of monies that has been lost. So these are usually the big monies involves white collar crime, and these are where that we should be focusing on not petty, police traffic or JPJ. Getting 100 ringgit, 200 ringgit, you will not solve the problem by catching them and charging, but you will look like you've done a lot of work if you catch about 1,000 police, right? So your KPI looks like you've got a huge, set of cases that has been convicted, but you don't solve the problem of corruption, and that's why you need to look at prevention. So that's why this has not happened, and we are focusing on getting involved in private matters or civil suits, or where people accuse each other. These are the thing where the corporate mafia has taken place, and it doesn't come without a price. So if you're going to actually use an MACC officer to do this thing, he's not going to do it for free. So he's going to spend time using his staff, his resources to do this, because there's something for them as well. So this is what we're talking about. Why can't the police investigate on that? And that's why they came out with a press conference saying, oh, there's no corporate mafia elements. But how did you come out with that when you have not even called up a single MACC officers for questioning? We're not even saying investigate, for questioning. So we have a serious problem. And that problem is compounded by the fact that government persons, government officers, top leaders, justifying, protecting, distracting, making statements that they shouldn't have. And cronies, people who are known close to leaders are, blatantly being allowed to continue with the way things are. That's part of the problem.
I do have to ask you this, because I know our listeners may ask, because before this you said, you did see some sort of signs that may have been part of the corporate mafia. So I guess was there anything that could have been done during your time? Could anything be done sooner? Because now it's been how many years, and yes, obviously grown.
Yeah, but during my time, there wasn't that corporate mafia elements, because I have never been approached by any so-called corporate figures to actually ask for help to arrest their rivals. I've never been approached, and I have repeatedly, checked on my fellows whether they've actually done it. I can't confirm, but I can say that it takes my level to actually allow a paper of such to be opened, investigation paper, or to freeze an account if it involves multi-million or $1 billion, to freeze such an account. They would actually ask for my to check on that, and I've never come across that. All we did was on the main cases that we were doing, of course, involves politicians that were involved in the corruption before the government fell, including one MDB and a few other cases. But I've never come across anyone who wanted to. Of course, I have not made it a habit at all. It's not my policy to meet people to discuss on potential cases as well. I've had people who asked to meet, but I have avoided it. But I don't know what happened after that, actually.
Okay, so Shannon, let's take a look at the other side of this equation, right? I mean, obviously, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has been renewing Chief Commissioner Azam Baki's contract for how many times already now?
Three times.
So, 3 times, right? Yeah. So, he did so even when people from his own coalition had said no. So, when he said that he won't be renewing this contract anymore, do you think this is actually a turning point? Or do you think he's just bare minimum lah?
Yeah, he hasn't actually said it. I mean, we reported it.
We reported. Correct.
He
hasn't said what?
but
Sorry?
what we understand. that he won't be renewing Azam
Yeah, he
Baki.
hasn't actually said it publicly lah. Okay, I correct myself there. Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, we understand from people we've spoken to in cabinet that he has mentioned that he won't be renewing Azam Baki. Now, of course, the real test is in 3 weeks when Azam Baki's tenure.
But the issue
ends.
is not
Sorry,
about renewing, I would say. It's really not about renewing. The issue is what's going to happen to the person who has been accused by, based on the story of
Correct.
Bloomberg and all that, and confirmation that he has shares. What's going to happen
Yes.
to, do you
So that's-
go scot-free?
yeah.
Was there an
So
investigation?
that's my analysis of the whole thing, is that by letting him go, so the investigation, the special task force led by AG and all these guys, look, they're looking into not a criminal offense. What they were looking to was a matter of civil service misconduct, right? And the person, and to me, I see the look on your face, Carla, that is not what we should be investigating alone. We should be investigating all these other allegations as well. But the thing is, I think for Anwar, what he's going to be able to say is that once Azam Baki is no longer a civil servant in that sense, then this investigation also becomes academic, right?
Yeah, then it's fine lah to have because he's no longer a civil servant, so he
Yeah,
can have
so
the
what
how
are you
many
going to do?
shares he
And
wants.
it's this sense of, so I think the Prime Minister believes that this matter will go away if Azam Baki is no longer MACC chief.
Are
If
we
not,
held at ransom by that? I mean, that's really, that's a revelation, I would say, because you must remember the Prime Minister said there is a committee that's set up as an immediate reaction to public outcry.
correct.
And he has repeatedly said, we're waiting for the report, right? We have been
Yes.
told that there's a report coming. And then all of a sudden it went silent. No statement of the report, but you have a statement by the KSN saying, oh, I'm looking into the disciplinary part of the report, which means there's a
It implies that there was a
There's a
wrongdoing.
report. Okay.
But
Now-
no, it also implies there's wrongdoing because it's been forwarded
Correct.
to a disciplinary board,
but
right?
that's not even the main issue, because what happened after that is not too long after the Prime Minister said it's coming, you get an announcement by Rafizi, who said that he found out that there are the apparently that in the report he mentioned specifically that there was a 9-company shareholding and also about a worth of 14 million. This is
Yeah.
like, I don't know, multiple times more than what was revealed by
Bloomberg and all the other
Correct, and all the others, and we had
yeah.
redacted SSM report. What was
Correct.
going on? So it's absolute silence from everyone on those issues. So whether you're going to renew him or not, it has become actually a second story. We are interested to know what in the world is going on with the top officer of
Yeah.
MACC. It's not just anybody, it's MACC. Because why? Because he regularly holds press conferences, announces that he's going after various other people, including political rivals or past political rivals of the Prime Minister.
And pretends they are fugitives and stuff like
the
that. puts up
fugitives,
their-
accusations, and you make a full remark when those days the MACC chief does not have press conferences in that manner. We have press conferences to reveal something, but we do not go and announce that we are recommending this person to be charged under this person. That is for the AG, not for the MACC. So the whole thing has become a show, a circus each time. So, even for real cases, or there's some basis for investigation, we'll wonder, okay, is that for real? I mean, is it real or something behind it? Or why is it happening only just near the month of May? Or, every time February, March, the year before last, you see this amazing investigation and charges and a lot of people being walked around, paraded in orange shirt. Then it goes silent after that. After May, it goes silent. The last,
It's just
Why
it's like
me?
all of
why
us
me?
because
Tell me
just
why
before
me?
appraisal period, right? Just
Yeah,
before
tell me
appraisal
why
period,
me.
where you find out what is your bonus amount, then everyone starts working harder. You see,
Correct.
so
Or
Maybe because
maybe,
it's
or
raya season
because
lah.
that's the time we get extended. So that's
yeah,
probably why. So
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we have to face it. This is the reality. I've never felt, such disappointment in the manner in which the current administration has been going on about pretending to be anti-corruption. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you know what they mean, Shannon? Your next task is to ask about the report lah.
well, we so the apparently cabinet knows that it's been presented to cabinet that but it's been pushed to KSN to go and do a disciplinary. What people are calling for, can you reveal the contents of the report? We want to know, not just that we want that to tell us that the report is completed and we are waiting for KSN to recommend action. Tell us what's in the report, right? And so we've asked, and they want to tell us lah. That is the situation we're in now, and I think Katla's right. We can't be held to ransom by that. And the problem now, I think, is this idea of, I think Anwar is banking on we will forget about this whole thing lah by 2027, 2028, whatever it is, that the corporate mafia thing will be left in the past. That's what he thinks lah, right? I don't know. I mean, in my kind of a political analysis, I think it's a very difficult balancing act for the Prime Minister. So to be fair, he's got this Iran thing going on and the economic shocks and all that is going on.
That's
So with regards, yeah,
the Iran thing is a good excuse, lah.
yeah, with the political dimension of it, when I'm talking about it, not from the kind of
Yeah.
aspect of human rights and democracy.
Yeah, sure.
Talking about election timing, I think that's where we are going with this. I
Yeah.
think it makes perfect sense to delay a general election because right now, I think if he does it, I don't think Anwar will be prime minister.
never
I
do
don't
it.
think he'll be prime minister right after this. People say it might get worse next year, but I think if you are in a position where you already think you're going to lose, you take the chance that maybe some miracle will happen and next year we might win it in spite of everything.
Yeah, I guess that's what Iran is
Yeah.
in a way lah. I mean, like it gives like some sort of like a for
Yeah.
distraction, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like if he does it now, I mean, like we're still talking about it. I mean, we are
Yeah.
literally talking
right now,
about
I
it right
think
now.
it's if he
Yeah.
had a general election in this next quarter, Pakatan will definitely get smashed, right? Both for economic reasons and reasons of all this allegations.
I think
right?
Pakatan
But if you-
would be smashed for many reasons. And I think
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
coming from the background that I was in that party before and knowing the very people who are in the cabinet. I would just give a quick thing. Knowing very well these people and having worked with them, I would say that they would never call for an early election. They would never call for an early election because they never actually won the last election. Okay, they got it because they took that big jump to work together with UMNO.
But that's the reality of politics. I mean, we will always have
Correct,
these
but
coalitions, right?
the
And
very
like,
coalition
yeah.
that you used to campaign against your winning campaign, or you got your votes based on bashing the other person, and then you turn around and say, sorry guys, those who voted for us, we got to work with those people that you wanted us to vote against. So it makes no sense. But that's one of the reasons, the huge disappointment. But that is okay. People have accepted there is a Madani, and it's probably better than the so-called extremists and whatever, right? But the point is, since then you have used the excuse that you can't bring in any reform because we are part of a coalition. So it's the excuse.
So what's the point of voting
What is
for
the
you,
whole
lah,
point?
right?
Well, I think people are very angry, and it's not just about economy, but the whole thing. You feel like you've been scammed, and it's going to continue for a long time, and no one is going to look at it with nostalgia that we won. They feel like that's the day we got cheated, and that's the problem with the government right now, because we don't have what is going on. They are unable to administer properly. You're loud in your campaigns, but you're now completely muted, especially coming from their allies like DAP. absolutely muted on many issues, including issues of human rights, including issues of racial attacks on minorities and blah blah blah. And of course, we have the, Urban Renewal Act. Apart from the economy, all these things are very serious, and if this is not sorted out, we can say goodbye to them. Yeah.
Phew. Wow. Okay, that's like a wow. That's a really powerful way to end this. But okay. Well, just to wrap this up, because we've been talking seriously over the last few minutes, so it's time for our news nugget, where we take a breath and get slightly less serious. Okay. Shannon and Latheefa. So with tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, right, scaring global oil markets, like we have. I think just today, when the day where we're recording, Israel just had a ceasefire with Lebanon. We may have a second Iran peace talks coming soon in Pakistan. We don't know yet at this time. So because of this, Malaysia finds itself in a quite weird position. I would say, like, Petronas not exactly unhappy because oil prices go up, but at the same time, like, ordinary Malaysians still have to isi minyak, pay electricity bill, and so in the midst of this energy crisis, we have lots of, I guess, shall we say, guidance for the rakyat. It's like tips like turn off your lights when you leave lah, use fan, not aircon, unplug your charger when you're not using it. Like at the surface, it sounds very practical, but maybe a bit too optimistic when it comes to Malaysians. So here is the question. I want you guys to be completely honest, like, this is a safe space. So what is one energy wasting habit that you absolutely refuse to give up, no matter what the people, the authority, the government say? Okay, I'll go first. I refuse to switch off my computer. I will just keep it on sleep mode. Not exactly like switch off until the company tells you to reboot it because there's an update coming.
Actually have the same thing. And I don't know about safe space because I think Straits Times readers are very critical. But I do the same thing. I leave everything on standby. My computer is on standby. My phones. I go to sleep, it's on standby. TV, Astro Box.
My PlayStation
everything
is on standby.
I hate rebooting things and waiting for it to turn back on. Right?
Even though, like, in these modern times, right, rebooting is actually relatively fast compared to our times back then.
We have to use laptop. Maybe you are at a workstation there, but the laptops take so long. And I get so annoyed when I'm working on a story and then says, we have to restart your computer now because of a security.
And it's not long.
Security patches.
There was this one time. Yeah, there was this one time I had to wait 1 hour for the computer to reboot after an update. I cannot do any work at all.
Maybe for me, this little things are, of course, really annoying in that sense, that because I think it's a penny wise, pound foolish situation. Even if 32 million people were to leave their computer on, you can't save the number of energy or money that is being spent on the way we are not closing in the corruption, the billions there's. So it's painful. So I feel that we are being distracted by this, and instead they should be focusing on closing that, that $1 billion leaks everywhere. And that would probably help, because this work from home, sudden announcement of leave because I want to be popular, these things are not going to actually solve the problem. We've got to solve the real problem, and nothing is forthcoming in that sense. Sorry, I just dampened the whole thing. Yeah, but,
Yeah, maybe they should turn off more lights.
Yes, I think so. Or maybe not fly in a
air
helicopter.
conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in Singapore, we have the mandate to keep it at 25 degrees Celsius and above, right? I'm sure in Malaysia, like, all the central aircon.
There's no checking on those things. We have a lot of announcements, but we're not Singapore lah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's a wrap for this edition from Across the Causeway. Thanks everyone, like a huge terima kasih to Kak Latheefa Koya and Shannon Teoh for being with us today. Like, genuinely spicy conversation.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
This has been Asian Insider. I'm Zurairi A.R. We have links to the articles we mentioned in our podcast show notes, and you can sign up for our Asian Insider Malaysia Edition newsletter, where Shannon makes his snarky comments every week. So if you like what you heard, please share this podcast with your friends and family. This episode was produced and edited by Faizah Sani. Terima kasih for listening. Until next time, stay safe on the road. Don't stress. Jumpa lagi everyone. Bye.